This week, Jeff Amerine and Scott McClemens of Nehemiah Worldwide discuss decision-making with data. Scott offers an example of a time when a banking client needed a little help to swim through his data. This is a timely topic in light of Walmart's new Go Bank.
Today I'm here with Scott McClemens, CEO and Chief Growth Strategist of Nehemiah Worldwide. Scott, thanks for coming in. Glad to have you on the show.
My pleasure, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
You bet, you bet. Tell us a little bit about your background, just to add some context, and what you're doing with Nehemiah.
Sure. Well, my background is banking, so I've always been at the intersection of strategy, analytics, marketing, and execution. And that's basically what I'm doing now with my clients, using that background to help CEOs make the most of their best opportunities, to make informed decisions and take actions on them. You can think of me kind of as a strategic integrator. If you can think of three circles: strategy, insights, execution, I'm at the very intersection of those circles, helping my clients do great things.
Helping them use data to make the right kind of decisions.
Exactly.
Perfect. I mean, right on target for what we like to talk about here. So again, it's really great to have you. So in thinking about some of that, how can good empirical data analysis unlock those hidden pockets of profitability within consumer packaged goods and retail?
Okay,
what are your thoughts on that?
Let me just use an example, if I may.
Absolutely.
I had a large bank client with millions of customers and hundreds of branches. Mm-hmm. They weren't talking to each other. So in banking, 75% of your new sales each year come from your customers. We weren't reaching them. They weren't coming into the branches. The people in the branches weren't reaching out to the customers. So I came up with a way to use really targeted, automated technology to help the people in the banks make outbound calls to the customer base and increase our sales tremendously to the tune of 30,000 to 40,000 sales a year.
So by using data, you were able to push down a decentralized execution. So the people that were closest to the customer could actually take action.
Exactly, and that's the key with this whole data, technology, insights, is action. There's a sea of data in every company, but I think most of the time people make it too complicated.
Right.
What do you really need to do to make sales?
Got it. That's where it all starts and finishes, right?
What does the front line really need to do their job? And the key is not overcomplicate it. I made some mistakes in trying to, what I call, turn ducks into eagles. I tried to get them to use their information to make their own marketing plans, etc. They don't want that.
Right.
They want to make sales to targeted customers. They want to know what to call them about, who to call, what to say.
I got it. So the customer will be receptive, and if you have better data and you understand what the data is telling you, that customer is going to be more likely to buy ultimately.
Exactly.
That's good. That's really good stuff. So it's difficult. It's a cultural change. So much of the way management in any sector has been based on emotion or judgment or experience. What do you see as those major roadblocks for there to be more data-driven decision-making?
A major roadblock I see is the lack of talent that can really integrate everything. So you've got to have somebody really smart in your company who knows the company's business, who knows data and technology, who knows sales, marketing, finance, and that person has to almost think like a CIO, a CEO, and a CMO to bring that all together. And so I think the lack of talent in that area, the lack of integrators, is a real roadblock.
Those boundary spanners that kind of get the big picture, but they have enough depth in a particular area to really be useful to the organization.
Exactly.
Got it. That's helpful. What role does corporate culture play? So much of this, I think it was Peter Drucker that said, "Culture eats strategy and wins every time." So in that instance, how do you overcome some of those cultural barriers?
So Drucker's right. Culture does eat strategy, and I've had my strategy eaten by culture, and sometimes adversity fosters these new ideas. But I think a big stumbling block with culture is from the executive management down to the frontline employees. They've got their biases. They've got the way they do things.
Right.
And so they're walking past, over, through, under hidden profits every single day because they've got their cultural blinders on. They invented the processes, and so they need either a disruptor, like we talked about previously,
Sure.
Or a fresh set of eyes to come in and start questioning and challenging their assumptions.
I got it. And consultants can do that for sure, but it's got to start with the senior leadership, as you said. So what can senior leaders, CEOs, senior decision makers within retail and consumer packaged goods do? What's your one piece of advice to them, or a couple of pieces of advice?
Okay, so I've got 2 or 3.
Sure.
First of all, like you said, they've got to question their assumptions. They've got to assume that they can do something better. Good is never good enough. So I recommend looking at your results over the last 1 or 2 years, your successes and failures, testing your assumptions and seeing how they've lined up with your strategy. The second thing I would do is get engaged in the process. So talk to your analytical folks, talk to your IT folks, get them together with your sales and marketing folks, almost in what I call innovation groups on a regular basis, and bring in somebody from the outside if you think it's appropriate with a fresh set of eyes.
Right.
Because you know there are things that you're not doing, and all of your collective experience and great ideas together are going to uncover those.
Sure, so truly a multidisciplinary approach where it's crossing every boundary and getting people out of their silos.
That's what I think.
Scott, it's great. It's great to get your points of view on this. We're really glad to have you on the show. And Saturday morning meeting will continue shortly.